Hi guys, Tracy here with another scrapbooking process video. Today I'm going to be talking about a project life spread that I did quite a while ago. It was actually almost 3 months ago. So back in late March, I created this page. And this is actually the page from the week before that there is a process video on my channel for. But today I'm going to be talking about this spread that you see right here. I had just put the cards in place at the end of my last scrapbooking session. And so I'm just pulling them all out so that I can work on them on this particular day. Now I am narrating this, as I mentioned, 3 months later. And so bear with me if my memory is a little poor for what's been done. I'm just going to try to get this done so that I can pick up my project life and move forward with getting myself caught up a little bit. So this is just a book that I plan to put in my project life somewhere from the page before. And now I'm just going to use these templates. These are just templates that I used a ruler and marker to create, and it just allows me to have a sense of the space that these cards are going to take up in a Becky Higgins Design A page protector, which is my standard page protector. I occasionally use different ones, but I usually just use this one. It's my go-to design. So as you can see, I laid everything out the way that it was in the album, in the pocket page before I got started. And then I had all of this extra stuff. So there were extra photos for me to print up, and I just have a stack of them right there. And because it became pretty clear that I was going to have way more content than a full layout, I decided to use these flip flaps, which are by Snap, which is a Simple Stories company. Pardon me, they're actually called photo flips, and I have the 3x4 ones here. I do have them in 4x6, and I use them occasionally in my pocket pages. And so as you can see, I have a couple of them pulled out here, and I have a variety of different things that I might do with them, so you'll see those come up later. Now cut forward to me just looking through my supplies here, and what I have here is a couple of project life or pocket page kits. And so I have some Ellie Studio supplies here, and I also have a Studio Calico kit. I have some cards still left over from some other kits. So some of these would be March kits from Studio Calico, but some of them might also be Ellie Studio kits from months before March, so maybe February or January. And I just had a little bunch of supplies that came from Crop and Create there that I was using too. And a couple of other supplies. So I'm going to try to remember what everything is, but I might forget. So especially the cards, I tend to put cards from multiple companies together, and I just use the cards that seem to work for the pages and the memories that I'm trying to document. So here we are again. And again, most of these cards are from either Kelly Perky or Studio Calico. A couple of them, particularly the more brightly colored ones, are from Ellie's Studio. And so as you can see, I had a couple that I had already scrapped at Crop and Create. So this is immediately following, I think a couple of weeks went by, and then I picked up these supplies and went to continue scrapbooking from my last video, which would have been representing early March. And so this card in my hand, for example, I already put together at Crop and Create, and then the one with the matcha latte I also created at Crop and Create. And then these are some of the photos of our group. We didn't take a whole lot of group photos. This was before social distancing was mandated. So this was that weekend that was right on the cusp between life being kind of like pre-COVID-19 and life being post-COVID-19. So everything shut down on the Monday right after this bunch of photos were taken, this event that I went to. So but we still weren't taking a whole lot of photos of our group just because it was more somber. It was a bit less celebratory than other Crop and Create events have been. So as you can see, I'm just kind of fiddling around with figuring out where everything is going to go. So I grabbed my pink cards. I do keep my cards once a month is over and I have leftover cards. I just sort them by dominant color. And so I grabbed my pinks there so that I could pull a little bit more pink into the page because there's lots of pink in our shirts there. And then I'm just, as you can see, going through some more neutral cards because I felt like there was an awful lot of color on this page and I just wanted to tone down and have some neutral cards in there as well. So now that I have a general sense of how everything is going to be laid out, I put one half of the page far away and then I leave the first half of the page off in the wings there. You can see the tip of it. And then I start basically scrapbooking page like card by card. And so before I do that, I just want to familiarize myself with the supplies that I have. So I'm trying to use those acetate hearts that are out of screen now, but I was flipping through them a second ago. Those are from Studio Calico and they came in a kit. These are some Ellie Studio title building stamps that I have that are fairly new to me, so I want to be using those. This is a Studio Calico kit set of stamps that I liked because it has a weekend theme and the photos I'm scrapping are from the weekend. Then I have some Crafty Jen Scow stamps that I have a whole video on my channel that shows these up close and personal. They're really fun and awesome, and so I definitely want to use some of those, and some of them are pretty relevant to the kind of memories that I'm scrapping here. And then I'm just pulling out some of my standard go-to Project Life or Pocket Daily scrapbooking stamp sets that I really like. And so those are kind of like daily life stamp sets. I've got some stamp sets that are AM, PM because I know I have some stories that I want to tell about that. And as I go through and use them, I'll give you a sense of which stamp sets I'm using, what their names are, and what companies they are from. So I'm going to start, I usually start in that top corner, or sometimes I just start with whatever card seems the easiest to me to start with, because that can kind of get the ball rolling and get your creative juices flowing. So what I have right here is a stamp set by Kelly Perky that I've been really looking forward to using. It's called Eating Out, and it's from her 2019 collection of stamps, I guess. And I'm using this one that says Local Favorite. And then I'm also going to layer it with a fork and knife and spoon stamp as well. And I'm just going to stamp those right onto the photo. And I'm going to use my MISTI tool to be able to make sure that I line it all up right. And in case I make a mistake, it gives me a chance to restamp if needed. And so I like using the mini MISTI for most of my project life, and these stamps are brand new to me, so I'm just using my eraser to prime them a little bit, just very gently rubbing them with the surface of my eraser, but not so hard that the eraser creates little pieces of eraser lint. I don't want that. And so as you can see, I stamped those twice, and I think I was using I was actually using VersaFine Black Onyx ink for that, which is my favorite ink. It's very dark and juicy. I really like that one a lot. And now I'm just going to do some journaling here. And I actually don't love how this turned out, but it does, it tells the story. It says, met up with Jen and Adam at the True North Cafe for lunch. And then I'm going to use a roller date stamp. I'm just checking what date it was on my phone because that's an easy way to check the dates, since all of my photos were taken with my phone. And I'm going to grab, at first I'm looking for a date stamp from those Ellie Studio date stamps, but then I decided to use this smaller roller date stamp. And the year is expired on that one, so I just put 01 March, and I stamped it so that the year actually didn't stamp on the photo. It kind of fell off the page. And now the card right next to that one, and I'm putting 2 3x4s in a 4x6 pocket, so that's why I have that 4x6 grid card that's going to go behind them just to hold them in place. This next one is a photo of my hair, which I dyed red around that time. And so as a balance to how much is going on in the other one with lots of stamping and journaling and details in the photo itself. I wanted this one to be a little bit more plain, so I'm just going to use the Studio Calico letter stickers that came in one of the recent kits. That was recent back then, not now. It's probably from January or February kits. And then I'll just hold these photos in place with some ATG on the grid card, and then that's kind of how I deal with the 4x6 pockets. I will often put, and now you see all that ink that's on my grid mat. That's going to cause me a problem a little bit later, but anyhow, this is a card that I had done at the crop. So it says, after a week of talking about them, the girls made Tiana's famous beignets, so yummy. And I'm just adding some arrows here just to make it clear that the photos on either side of this journaling card are relevant to this journaling. And I used a Jen Scow stamp set for that. I love the arrows in that stamp set. It's one of my favorite things. And so here is that beautiful pink card. I'm covering up the words with my journaling or my printed out joke. And here I go, getting ink on my pretty card that now I don't know where that ink came from, but obviously there was a splotch of ink someplace that ended up getting transferred to my mat and to my hands and then to the card. But that's okay, because I thought about maybe pulling it up and using a different card in the background, but I really liked that color of that really light pink. So I just decided to cover it up. That's an Ali Edwards label stamp that came in one of my, at the time, brand new Ali Edwards kits. I am new to the Ali Edwards kits. I have never subscribed before, but I did subscribe right around the time of the scrapbooking that happened here. So right around March, I think I subscribed to the Ali Edwards. I subscribed to all three kits, but not for very long. I think maybe a 3-month subscription or maybe a 6-month subscription. So, and then I just put a little piece of chipboard there that says, can't help myself. And it says, with the pandemic, people have been stocking up on, of all things, toilet paper. And that was just a little joke that I posted on my Facebook or something that was going around about crafters and stocking up on craft supplies instead of actual essential products. I'm not sure that toilet paper was all that essential at the time either, so that's why I kind of paired that journaling with that particular joke. Now I have this card that I'm just writing my journaling on. It says, Liv wanted to earn money for a Patagonia vest, so I put her to work recycling 6 months worth of cardboard. So we had been collapsing and stacking cardboard through the winter months without actually spending a whole lot of time to bundle them and put them out in the trash, in the recycling. And so we gave her that task, and she loves that kind of thing. So she did very well with that. I am scrapbooking this on 2 separate 3x4 cards, even though it is the same memory, but I'm using those acetate little hearts just to decorate it. And I really love how those look. And you can pull, they have like a backing on them because they're supposed to be shiny, and you pull off the little, there's like a little film over top. It's actually not on the back, it's on the front. I didn't pull it off because I actually prefer the look of those pieces of acetate. I prefer them when they're matte. Now what I'm doing here is I'm actually pulling off the face of this chipboard piece because I don't want to layer 2 thick pieces of chipboard on top of one another within a pocket page. So I had to use glue to layer those 2 things, because when I pulled off the bulk of the chipboard, I also pulled off the sticky part. But then the thanks sticker I kept with its dimension. There's a little set of Studio Calico phrase stickers that I'm going to use throughout this page. And that one just said delightful. And I used lots of staples to keep those in place. So now I'm just pulling over this second page, the second half of this page, which is going to take me a little bit longer to create because less of this was already done. So here we go. I'm just kind of rearranging things a little bit, and just kind of, when I do this, I'm trying to find some balance with white space and photos, and I'm taking into consideration how cluttered the photos are or how much white space is on the photos and that sort of thing. I decided to start off with this story of our Saint Hubert. I know I don't pronounce that right, but it's a chicken place that I love to go to every time I go to Moncton. And so little did I know that would be the last time I'd be able to go to Moncton in a very, very long time, because we're not allowed interprovincial travel here. So anyhow, I miss you, Saint Hubert. Well, Swiss Chalet is kind of close. So again, I'm priming these stamps, and these stamps, this stamp that I'm using, it says, "I freaking love you." And it is from the, let me find it. It's the "I freaking love you" stamp from the Here For It stamp set from Jen Scow, from Crafty Jen Scow. And I'm double stamping it just to make sure it's nice and bold. I put it right inside of the lid of, like, the box cover of my chicken meal. And I really like how that looks. It's like I freaking love that chicken. So yes, and I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh yes, I'm taking a photo. I'm not sure why. I might have been just trying to show somebody what I was up to and texting them or something, but see how there's a bit of a negative space there where I was just pointing? It's kind of not very attractive part of the photo. And so I've decided to stamp using this Ellie Studio stamp set. Oh, pardon me, it's not an Ellie Studio stamp set. I'm just using the Ellie Studio paper. The stamp set is actually from the Eating Out collection, that stamp set from Kelly Perky that I showed you before. There's a little stamp that looks like a takeout menu card, and so I'm priming it, and I'm going to stamp it onto this white paper. It's just the backing from an Ellie Studio kit, and I didn't quite stamp that all that well, I don't think. Yeah, so I'm going to restamp it because it shifted a little bit. Like you see, I'm using my magnets to keep the paper in its right place, but it did shift a little bit. So I restamped that. And this is nice and easy to cut out. So I'm just going to leave a tiny smidgen of a white border all the way around this little takeout card. And then I'm just going to fill in the data. So I'm going to grab actually a blue pen, and this is one of my favorite blue pens. It's actually I really like the color of this. It's almost black, but it's blue. It's like a nice navy blue, and it is from Dessert, which is a big box art supply store here in Canada. It is Quebec based. And I think what I'm doing here is I'm actually looking up the menu to make sure that I call it the right thing. So I wanted to make sure that I named my meal what I actually had. So I wrote Saint Hubert, and then rotisserie chicken with fries and dipping sauce. And then I checked off the little box for ordered online and also the little box for delivered, because it was both of those things. So I'm just going to glue that in place so that it covers over that less attractive part of the table. There was like a little gap in the table there. And now I'm taking my Ellie Studio stamp set. This one is called Noted Volume 2. And I'm just going to place some lines beside the photo so that I can do some additional journaling besides, besides what is already on the little tag. So as you can see, I abandoned that idea of using that stamp set because I preferred the spacing of this journaling template. This is a hot off the press journaling template that I have had in my stash for a very long time, and I've recently rediscovered just how versatile it is, and so I've been using it left, right, and center. And so here I am using it left. And so, as you can see, I just used my ATG to attach the photo, and now I'm going to do some journaling. It says, "I can't go to Moncton without having me some Saint Hubert chicken. As usual, Marielle placed the order and had it delivered to the conference room." Marielle, by the way, if you don't know her, has an amazing scrapbooking style. If you're looking for somebody who scrapbooks boys, she does the most amazing boy layouts. I just adore her pages. And I adore that she always orders Saint-Hubert chicken for us. So I'm grabbing some embellishments. These are more of those chipboard pieces from Studio Calico that I'm just trying to get used up. They came in a kit and I'm just trying to use them up. You know what? They might be from Ali Edwards. But yeah, I can't remember. I'm pretty sure they're from Studio Calico. Correct me if I'm wrong. And again, I just pulled apart the chipboard piece so that I wasn't layering 2 full pieces of chipboard there because it would be way too bulky. I'm trying to keep my project life pages within 2 albums per year or 1 album per year. And so now these are these adorable Crafty Jen Scow letters. I really love them. I'm just going to grab the package so I can tell you what it's called. It's called the Joyful Alpha Stamp set, and I really love how they look. I love how whimsical and casual they look. These are my Lawn Fawn inks, and I really love these inks. For many, many years, I used exclusively Stampin' Up! Colored ink, like dye ink, and I do like that ink, but I was having a lot of trouble storing it, and I had the full-sized ink stamps or ink pads, and they were just so bulky and taking up a lot of space. And I really don't use colored ink enough to warrant having full-sized ink pads for a million different colors. So I decided to switch over. I'm going to be selling my Stampin' Up! Ink at some point whenever I get myself organized enough to do such a thing. So what I'm planning to do here is write the phrase scrap, scrap, scrap 3 times on this card. So it looks like morning scrap, afternoon scrap, and evening scrap. And I just picked out 3 colors that coordinate reasonably well with the colors that are already on the page. I particularly wanted to make sure I picked up some purple. And so the colors that I'm using there, I can't remember the names of them. Let me pull them out to let you know. I believe they are Wild Rose, Mermaid, and Grape Jelly in the Lawn Fawn inks. So the little tiny stamping block that I'm using, I love using a tiny block for small stamps, and it is one that Close to My Heart sent me a while back. So thanks to them for supplying that. I love that little block. Haven't lost it yet. That's my big fear, is that I'm going to lose it because it's pretty small. And I did bring it to Crop and Create with me, but as you can see, it made its way home. Now, I really like how that looks, but it's looking a little bit like it needs just something of interest. I don't want anything that's going to take away from what's already on the card. So what I've decided to do is go with some tone-on-tone sewing and stitching on this card. So don't mind me while I play around with the camera situation here. What I've decided to do is add some stitching, and as you can see, I'm just stitching white on the white card. Now this machine that I'm using is it's actually the older version of the New Home sewing machine by Janome or Janome or however you say that. This is basically the exact same sewing machine. I have both of them. I have the new one and I have that older one that you saw me using. I keep the white one threaded with white thread, and I keep my new one, which is gray, threaded with dark ink, and that's a little bit luxurious, I know, to have 2 sewing machines so that I don't have to rethread them. But I love that sewing machine because it's so lightweight. I can keep it on a shelf and just grab it with one hand and bring it over to my workspace, as you saw me do. It's also so tiny that I can keep the 2 of them right side by side up on my shelf. Now, as you can see, I'm just layering this photo with this purple card, which I really loved this purple card and wanted to use it, but it just I didn't like what it was doing with those lines there, and I just decided that this other card would work a little bit better. Basically, I want to use purple on this card because it picks up on some of the purple that's in the other side of this spread, and I just wanted to layer some stickers around this kind of awkward white spot that's left when I kind of layered the photo with the card. And so, as you can see, I used a combination of labels there, and one of them was an Ali Edwards label, and the other two, I believe, were Ellie's Studio labels. They could have been Kelly Perky labels as well. And my journaling says, look who's up early. And then I'm layering a couple of pieces of chipboard here, that flag, which has some orange on it. And it says my fault. And then in brackets, it says see insert. I'm going to add this little rainbow here. I feel like this rainbow kind of pulls some extra color into this and ties the orange and the pinks together because it has both colors in it. I'm going to outline the flag chipboard piece. And I feel like it just needs a little bit more, particularly a little bit more of an orangey color around here. So I'm looking at what I might be able to stamp on this photo as well, because I'd like to do a little bit of journaling. And I have this wake up stamp. I think it's by Hero Arts, and it is by Hero Arts, and I don't have the name of it, but it's CM141, and there's also CM140. They're these two small mini stamp sets. One has a wake up theme and one has a go to bed theme. And so I stamped just wake up, be awesome, because Stephanie is pretty awesome, so that's an easy task for her. And it was kind of funny because she doesn't typically get up as early as she did that day, but there was a reason for her getting up so early. It was my fault. And so I'm going to tell that story on an insert. So I'm going to save that one. But in the meantime, I want to add just a little bit more embellishment over these stripes because I feel like the stripes are a little bit too much for this particular card. So I'm stamping out the word early bird, which also came from the same stamp set from Hero Arts. And then I'm going to try to make some type of an embellishment out of this. And so I'm looking for a circle that the word early bird or the phrase early bird can fit inside. And here's where I'm going to bring a little bit of orange into this because there's purple on the card, purples and pinks, and then that chipboard has some orange, and I just want to pull some orange into this. So I'm going to use one of these Lawn Fawn ink pads again. The one I'm using is called Apricot, and that's going to provide, I'm going to have to stamp it a couple of times just to get it nice and dark enough that it shows up. And that came from the Weekend stamp set. And I thought about maybe doing something different, seeing if there was another phrase that would work well inside of that circle, but I decided not to. That Weekend stamp set, by the way, is the one by Studio Calico. So I just pulled down one of my punches. I wasn't sure if it was going to be the best match, so I went back to my punches looking for one that might be a little bit smaller because this one is leaving quite a lot of white space around that circle, but I ended up just going with it because my other punch was too small. And then I'm going to layer that right here and see how that just covers up a little bit more of those stripes. It just tones down the stripiness a little bit more. And it provides some extra white space for your eye to rest a little bit, although I am going to cover up some of that white space with this little heart chipboard piece and then this other one that says you and me. And these are chipboard pieces from a previous Studio Calico kit that I'm just, as you can see, it's almost used up, and it might be a Kelly Perky, I can't tell. Anyhow, it's almost used up and I'm just trying to use up the last little pieces of it. So next I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with these group photos, and one of them just I love them both, so that's why I'm using them, even though they're very, very similar photos. So I just want to make sure that one of them goes upside down. so that when I flip it up, it looks, it's the right orientation. And I'm going to use this card with the stars on it. I'm going to end up using the white one with the stars on it instead of the pink one. But as you can see, I'm thinking about using the pink one at first. I'm going to do a last minute switch there. And now I just have to think about what am I going to put on this card. And the reason I made a last minute switch there is that this one has some white space in the center of it so that I can do some stamping and create a little bit of a title here for what comes below. So now I'm just at my stamps, grabbing a few more, just hoping that I can find something that will work here with this space that I have. I know that I want to use a weekend well spent. And then I kind of want to be able to spell out at crop and create. So I'm checking out what stamps and stickers I have. I really like that weekend well spent. It's at the kind of towards the bottom of that Studio Calico stamp set that I have in my hands right now. I'm looking at what title builders I have as well. So this title building stamp set that I have from Ellie's Studio, it has the word create on it, and it also has an ampersand. So I think I'm going to spell out crop with those stickers and have weekend well spent up here, and then I need an at, and so that's what I have there. Actually, that isn't the word at. I don't know what that is. Okay, so you get the picture. Now I'm just trying to kind of plan out how these stamps are going to fit with the letter stickers that I have here. So I definitely want to bring some pink into this card because it has the orange on it, and I don't want it to look too different from the other things on the page, on the overall spread. And so I set up all these stamps like this so that I can just kind of know that they all fit. And I think that stamp that I'm using for the word at is just something bigger than that. It might be at the, and I'm just going to stamp at. Yeah, so I only partially inked it. So now I have at crop. And I'm just priming that bigger stamp that says a weekend well spent. And I would really like to make it so that the word weekend is different and stands out from the words a and well spent. So I'm actually going to mask off the part that says, like, the extra parts of this, like the part that says well spent, and then there's some lines around it as well. I'm just being very, very cautious that I'm, masking off the right parts of it. There we go. And now that should just say weekend, and it did. So that's good. But I do want to stamp it again, so I want it to just be a little bit darker and stamped a little bit better. So I'm going to mask off again. And when you're masking, just make sure that after you do your inking, that you remember to, and I think I decided to just wipe off the ink from the word and so there we go. Now it's a nice darkly stamped weekend. And you want to make sure that you take off the washi tape, because sometimes I go to all that trouble and I ink it up and then I stamp it without removing the washi tape, and that makes a really big mess. So I'm using a blue ink from Lawn Fawn here to put the rest of that stamp in place. And so now it says a weekend well spent at crop, and now I have to add and create. And so create, I'm just priming that stamp, and I'm going to use black ink for create, and then I'm going to take that off and get the ampersand, put that back on the Ellie Studio stamp set that it came from. Then I'm going to take that ampersand and just nestle it close to create and ink it up with that same blue Lawn Fawn ink. And there you go. So now my title, it's a bit of a mix and match type of title. It's, it has a lot going on, but I kind of like it. So I'm just going to put all of those stamps away. And now I have this custom built title card that goes over top of my 2 group photos that I have. I'm just going to staple this photo, and I'll add a little word sticker later. And then here's my breakfast. Every year when we go to Crop and Create, hang on. First I took a picture of the prize, and someone had put toilet paper on the prize because it was in short supply at the time. And everybody was kind of laughing about that. And so I wanted to take a picture of that. So it says TP was added to the prize table due to shortages. And now I'm getting back to my breakfast photo. So every year at Crop and Create, I usually get up before my roommate and go downstairs and eat breakfast alone and read the newspaper. It's just kind of like my quiet time at the hotel. I really enjoy it. And so Eggs Benedict is one of my favorite things. So that's what I ordered. I usually get the buffet, but because of the pandemic, the buffet was actually still opened. But I didn't feel comfortable ordering from the buffet, so I just ordered a plate of food. I really enjoy breakfast buffets at hotels. It's one of my favorite things. So, yeah. But Eggs Benedict is also one of my favorite things, so it wasn't so bad that I didn't get to order the buffet. So, what I end up putting on this is I will write in marker Quiet Mornings at Crop and Create above that photo, and then I spelled out eggs with those pink letter stickers from Studio Calico, and then I'm spelling out Benny with the Jen Scow lovely font. Is that what they're? No, it's Joyful alphabet. And there's some tiny little hearts in there, so I'm going to add those as well, just for a little bit of decoration. And that was, I'm just changing the spacing on that a little bit, moving it over. And there's my title. I just have to add the writing at the top, which I'm going to do with my marker. So I'm putting this on. It looks a little bit like a sun. It's a yellow piece of chipboard sticker, and I just thought it's a flower, but it has a sun-like feeling to it because it's yellow, so it kind of feels like morning and waking up and having breakfast. And here's where I'm writing just Quiet Mornings at Crop and Create up there. And then you saw me make a little companion card there. It's basically just a little tiny filler card that says a happy little moment with 2 stickers on it, layered on top of each other, 2 circles. So I'm just having a look at the stamp sets again, because I'm thinking about what else is left to scrapbook here. And here are the 2 pages. And this is where I'm going to add some of these phrase stickers here and there throughout the page. And this is what I like to do at this stage once everything is basically scrapped, so meaning I could actually put it all in the pages, in the pockets, and put it away, and my stories are documented. But sometimes I just like to do a little bit of extra detail, and it allows me to give the page a bit of a pulled together look by spreading these stickers all throughout the page. And so there, I'm just choosing based on the phrases and also the colors of the highlighting on those stickers and just placing them randomly every here and there on the page. And making sure that the words work with whatever I'm putting it on. Now that Making Time for Fun filler card, I am going to add something to that. And these stickers are kind of forgiving, so that's nice about them. You can pull them up if you change your mind. Now, these are those acetate shapes that I used in a few places already, and I'm just going to use them in several more places just to really give that pulled together look with the repetition of that similar shape and shading all throughout the page. I just don't want them to be too close together, but I want them kind of repeated enough that it looks kind of clear that it's a theme that I've got going on here. And I'm even going to put one inside of the flip up. And I do like to decorate my photos whenever possible, so that gives me a chance to just kind of add that acetate heart, and I'll put a couple of more phrases there too. And I like how those hearts layer with the phrase stickers too. I think they look really cute together. Although I'm not going to put a sticker on every single heart, because that becomes a little bit predictable then. I want to leave a few of them just plain. And then I'm also having a look at these chipboard pieces that I'm trying to use up on this page. And so look for any last minute additions or opportunities to use those up. At some point, I will just toss what's left because, you know, you can only pull supplies forward for so long, and then you want to start using some of your newer supplies, right? And I find it overwhelming if I have too many options. So this might be one of the last times I use some of these chipboard pieces. I'm finding more of these phrase stickers that seem appropriate. These ones say document, the little things are the big things, and write it down. So those are relevant for putting on a picture of Stephanie scrapbooking. That card has a lot going on, but I really like it. I really like it. This spread is not the most minimalistic spread I've ever done, that's for sure. But I had a lot of fun creating it, as you can tell. So I did pull out my acrylic pieces here. I have a little bin from IKEA that I use, and I just thought that accentuating that card with the matcha latte cozy on it, just adding that little asterisk was good there. I thought about adding a little cloud to say that kind of like there was a cloud over our weekend because of the pandemic, but I decided not to. I also thought about covering this up and doing like a bit of a design instead of a phrase there. But I ultimately decided against that. These are some Ali Edwards supplies that I'm just not familiar with. I kind of forgot that I had them, so I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't overlooking any opportunities to use those, but I decided ultimately to just leave them for another time. Oh, those little wood veneer stars would have looked really cute there, but for some reason I decided not to add them, so I left it plain. And next you get to see some photos. This is what the overall spread looked like, and then here are some of the close-ups of some of my favorite cards. I really love that cozy acrylic piece. And then here you get to see how those hearts look layered. Again, I didn't pull off the little piece of coating that's on those hearts to keep them matte instead of shiny. And now here is a close-up of that lift the flap. And here it is lifted up. I really love how that gives you an opportunity to add some extra photos. And here it is in action, because I just wanted to show you how it looks when it's in the plastic. And so this is all the cards in their little pockets. And as you can see, it's really easy to flip that up. And then that little die cut piece there helps us to know that it needs to be lifted. And I just used a Lawn Fawn stamp and die set to do that. I don't think that made it to the cut of my process video. So thanks so much for watching, and have a really great scrappy week.